Five, four, three.
Good evening, and welcome to the Reel McCoy. I'm your host, Meffistoe, and usually with me, my hetero life mate, All My Feelings, but he is away on an assignment. We'll call it that much. What is the Reel McCoy, you might ask? The Reel McCoy is your weekly movie podcast where we ask you to go watch a movie, you watch it, come back to us, and we break it down for you, and we endlessly talk for about a couple of hours just to hammer it out. Another guest has shown up. Let me just add you in, Tom. How are you, good sir?
I'm doing the best I can. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
We're good. I was just about to introduce you guys. First, our special guest, Mr. Extrazero. How are you, good sir?
I'm doing good. It's Saturday here. Just had lunch, and I'm really excited to talk about today's film because it's probably one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time. So when given the opportunity to come back on the show, and I'll be here for the whole show this time, but given the opportunity to come back and to talk about this movie, I couldn't pass it up. So I'm hyped, I'm ready, and I'm excited to talk some Robocop.
Good. And with us again, Mr. Tom Connors, one of the biggest Robocop fans I know. Through the years that you've done like show and tells and stuff on other channels, I was like, dude, this guy's got
There you go. This is one of the OG
the business. And we'll say hello to the chat and all the Salty Nerd podcast raiders. Welcome. Sit back, relax. It's time to cover Robocop. Yes, during July, we're going to cover all of the Paul Verhoeven classics. We started off with Basic Instinct. We're going to do all the good ones, all the really, really good ones. Today is Robocop, so let us begin at the beginning. It is time for Behind the Screens.
Sound production, take 2.
Behind the Screens is where usually we turn to All My Feelings and get the lowdown on everything that is behind the scenes. But today you got me and probably Tom and Extrazero can throw in whatever they like. First of all, a lot of this information came in from the Netflix series, The Movies That Made Us. Not all, but some of it. So if Tom, I bet you Tom has seen the Extra.
That's one of the few ones I haven't watched, but I've seen the 4-hour documentary RoboDoc.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one, but I've seen some during the course for researching for this entire month. I've went through a lot of Verhoeven, interviews that he done. Most of them don't really talk about RoboCop, which is odd, but he's been asked about it and time and time again.
I think a lot of it is Peter Weller is the guy who goes and speaks about this. So I've seen several speeches that Weller's delivered to film students or colleges in general, or to fans at conventions, where he goes and he talks about the making of, and he's very passionate about it. I've seen a lot of the supplementary materials on the various DVDs and Blu-rays over the years as well, but I haven't seen RoboDoc yet. I need to, but I just haven't seen that yet.
All right, cool. So let us begin. RoboCop was actually inspired and started to form the script when Blade Runner was shooting. Ed Neumeier was sort of a extra, not really extra. He worked on it, helped do. He mentioned the fact that he was doing a lot of trash work, as in taking trash and making it look real on the set. And he was kind of inspired by the whole robots looking like humans, maybe a human within a robot and all that. He started to outline the story, but he felt like he needed a partner so he can bounce off ideas with. So he got to Michael Miner, who was sort of the other half of Ed Neumeier. Ed Neumeier was like this more executive, less impulsive, pretty square guy. And Michael Miner was like an experimental, impulsive, took psychedelics and all that stuff. So he was really intrigued by this whole story. Plus, he also wrote a sketch, like an outline story of a human cop becoming a robot cop. So it all kind of meshed together. When they finally decided to hammer in the script, Neumeier took 10 days off. He even said he had an executive job at a studio, and he took 10 days off and said his dad or his grandpa died or something, and he just wanted to sit down and write the script for 10 days, or at least the first act. And the studio even sent him flowers for the funeral. When it was done, he kind of showed it to Michael Miner, and Michael Miner said, "Well, this is fucking funny. This is great. This is hilarious." And Neumeier was baffled. How is this thing funny? The dialogue was funny. Orion Pictures picked up the script after a lot of studios didn't wanna, because Orion picked up because of Terminator, right? They made Terminator and kind of
I believe they distributed Terminator. Yeah,
They did.
So they wanted to have their own kind of robot cyborg kind of a thing going, but again, they didn't know what exactly this was.
No, everybody tossed the script whenever they would get it, because they'd see the title and they'd be like, whatever. Even Verhoeven himself took one look at it and threw it in the trash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
the most famous story, I think.
Yeah, one of the famous stories is Verhoeven started to read this thing, and he read just the start of it, and he said, "Well, this is the thing I hate about America. It's this overly grotesque violence for no good reason." His wife picked up the script, read it all the way through, gave it to Paul, and said, "Read this all the way through. There's something here." And remember, this is like the first draft. When he came on board, he actually got to the writers and made them write a second, third, and even a fourth draft, if I'm not mistaken, so it would look like it looks today, because it was very different in terms of where the story takes. So, the executives at Orion wanted to do it for $7 million because they said, well, Terminator cost $7 million and it looked great. But it wouldn't work. And they wanted it to look a certain look. So they kind of begged and plead and got 10 million plus. But there was a clerical error. Nobody signed off for the 10 million. So they had a contract, but nobody signed off for the 10 million. So when it went over budget and they needed even more, the guy who looked at the pages, he said, well, you've already gone 12 million and you need more. And it says 10, but nobody signed it. So I'm not going to sign a false document. So they pushed it and got 13.9 or something like that, which is a very interesting.
13.7.
13.7.
Mm-hmm.
The suit. To create the suit, they got Rob Bottin, a guy who did the special effects on The Thing, most notably. He did it on Inner Space and something else. Forgot. Didn't write it. I should have. But the producers were warned that he's a very slow worker because he's such a perfectionist. And it was like, be warned. And it kind of came to bite him at the end. They couldn't decide on a version of how Robocop is going to actually look until one of the people working under Rob Bottin actually saw a book, a concept artist book called Robot Sexy by Hajay.
I was going to say, I think you kind of skipped over something very important here.
You can fill it up.
I think it needs to be pointed out that Judge Dredd had a lot of influence on this story. Not only that, a lot of influence on the look of Robocop as well. To the point where I think they were there's rumors that the story even originated from these guys wanting to do a Judge Dredd story and not being able to get the rights. I don't know if they'll ever admit to that. They have admitted to Judge Dredd being a huge influence. In fact, there's a maquette out there of the Robocop costume that looks almost exactly like Judge Dredd. Let me see if I can find that. But yeah,
that's something new to me. I didn't see it. I saw an extensive interview with Ed Newmark.
Yeah, they've tried to stay away from that a lot. Andre is somebody who really pointed this out to me first too. And yeah, here's one of the original maquettes right here. And this is in one of the other documentaries, I believe. And because there's one documentary, for some reason, you can only get on one of the Blu-rays. And I think it's in that one.
There we go.
Yeah, some. It's a lot.
There we go.
So yeah, and as you if you think about it, there is a lot of Judge Dredd isms in this movie, and it is very 2000 AD esque in the world that it takes place in, right? Like it's that slightly distant future. The cops are, kind of this private organization now. A lot of the one-liners and stuff, a lot of that. And the other thing this is something I don't know if Ed Newmeyer said. Was it Ed or was the other guy? I can't remember if it was Ed or the other guy. Whichever one was working at at a studio as he would do scripts and stuff for stories. He would just read them. And one day they were like, we're going to be possibly getting some Marvel deals or other comic book deals. Read these comic books and tell us what you think. And he was going through them through a lot. And this is where he had read a bunch of the Judge Dredd comics. And instead of wanting to do any of those, he said he just got influenced from the idea. And he's like, well, we can make one of these, right? Like just the whole, and that's where Robocop really has a very basic comic book kind of origin story to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, kind of. Okay, so what I was saying is the guy working under Rob Bottin.
Sorry.
That's what he said. That's the information I got. He saw a a Japanese book by Hajime Soriyama. It has this chrome kind of a feeling.
Yeah, they got the laseristic
and
future
the laser
kind of
and
look
the
from it.
one line through like you get in Battlestar Galactica,
The visor.
the visor thing. Yeah,
Yes, yeah,
The
this is where
Cylon
that
does
all
it.
changed, and they kind of got
that's the word I was looking for.
they got to the version we know now. Yeah,
Inspired by, but yeah, Judge Dredd makes sense, to be honest. The thing is, the Ed 209 was way easier. They had so many models to choose from.
well, it's clearly inspired by mech stuff from anime and such.
Yeah, exactly. One of the, I think either Ed or Michael got like a little figurine that they saw in a toy shop, and they brought it in. It's like a figurine from some anime mech type show. I was like,
See, I think it was
this is what I want.
I think it was Ed, and then on the I think he was the anime geek, but I think Michael was the one I was talking about, who was in the offices just reading stacks of comic books, and he got sick of it because he's like, we could write something better than this.
Yeah, and they brought in Phil Tippett to actually do the animation for it. And what I love about it, this is something like aside, is the different sounds and audio cues that they added to the Ed 209, because clearly, and this is something that I didn't even think about, when it falls down the stairs and it has its leg kind of up, it's a pig squealing sound.
Yeah.
It's clearly a pig squealing sounds, and I was like, forever, I've seen the movie hundreds of times, and was like, oh, it's a pig. I got it. It's a pig. Right. Casting. That was a big issue. Michael Ironside was first up for the role, but he wanted some changes and they wouldn't do it. So
I don't know if he would have worked for it either. I think he would have been too.
He was too bulky as well.
Yeah, not just that part, but just like I think I don't remember if we've ever talked about Karate Kid on here or not, but
We have
they were gonna cast somebody completely different, and they had somebody in mind completely different for Mr. Miyagi, and I'm trying to remember the actor's name. I think it was Toshiro Mifune. And they were glad they didn't go that way, because he would have been a much darker Miyagi, right? And I think it would have been the same thing here if they would have went with Ironside. I think Robo would have been too dark.
Yeah.
Right? You need Peter to have that playful, kind of element to him, that he loves being a cop, right? That and he loves being an American, and he loves being a dad, and he's an all-around great guy, and that's why he works, especially when you get to part 2 and they talk about him. That's what I love, is like you get to understand more of why it had to be Murphy, or it wouldn't have worked in the first place, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing too about the casting of Weller is that he just seems so like the people that were up for casting, because it was like Ironside and Schwarzenegger was being eyeballed, which would have been weird itself. But is that he is just,
if you want to live. I mean, stop. Wait, which line is it?
There's so much humanity in the brief performance he has in the beginning of the movie. He's just a guy who, he really wants to do right by his job, his family, his son. There's a little bit of brashness to him, but there you definitely see the humanity in him. And so when he transforms into RoboCop and that's gone, it is just such a contrast. And I don't think it would have worked with many other actors.
Dare I say he's pretty much like a 10-year-old boy running around playing cowboys and Indians at heart. Like, that's who Alex Murphy is. He still has that spark from when he was a child that every boy has, when they're like, I'm going to be the hero, He still has that in him.
Kids need role models line.
Yeah,
exactly. That's my point, right? Like, he has that thing about him to where he's like, he never lost that. A lot of men, they grow up, they get more cynical. He still has that thing about it. And I love that. And that's that scene right there where he's doing the little flippy thing with the gun, and she's like, talking to him about it. He's like, I think I get a kick out of it. My kid likes it and does. That
TJ Laser.
He's pretty much admitting he's doing it for himself at the same time too, right? Because he's that kid at heart still.
So you mentioned Arnold, and he was up for the role. And once he started to come in and actually go to Rob Boutin and get fitted with the suit, they said he looked like the Michelin Man, and it was just not the right look. So after him, Peter Fonda stepped into the casting to the casting director and said, "You found your RoboCop," and they said, "No, we have not."
Peter Fonda probably would have been bad, but yeah, no, he's no.
Yeah, and Rutger Hauer was tapped at one point, but he didn't really fit, even though Verhoeven kind of wanted him because I worked with him in something in Europe. I think it was it Flesh and Blood? I think so. No, thank you. I'm doing the show. Hey,
Candygram.
and it's not Candygram. It's something a little bit more serious than that, but whatever.
Hope not.
Yeah, but he can wait. When after they were like, okay, we can't find anybody. I was like, what do we need? We need an actor who's slender enough to be in this suit. We want him to be fit. We want him to have great lips, and we want him to have a great chin. And somebody suggested, well, I've got something really special for you. We've got Peter Weller. We already worked with him on Bakru Banzai, so let's tap him. He came in. He didn't want to have a regular audition where he sent a tape. He actually sat down with Verhoeven and Ed Neumeyer at a cafe, and they did the audition there with Ed Neumeyer reading across from Weller, and he got the job. And also, they were very happy with how his lips look for some reason. For the role of Lewis,
Dead or alive, you're coming with me.
Oh, you mean this?
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
Gotcha. For the role of Lewis, the first gal who came in was Stephanie Zimbalist, who was doing Remington Steele. She was the girl in Remington Steele. And of course, as we know from Bond and Pierce Brosnan, Remington Steele's producer did not let anybody do anything else while doing the show for some reason.
Which is probably best because I think Nancy Allen was able to play that tough chick cop, but not like too butch.
Yeah.
Where she comes off like a lesbian, if that makes sense. She's able to play that middle ground there. And because they kind of wanted that image of her, at least Verhoeven specifically, of her being able to handle herself, but also still being a possible, love interest, even though that was never going to be part of the thing, right? Like, yeah, she kind of is. She fills that role, though.
Yeah, she fills the role, but Neumeyer didn't want it. Like they wrote her as a partner, so a full-on partner, not really body cop. But
weren't they even thinking about just having it being a guy at one point too?
She was a partner that was that happened to be a woman. There was even a scene where Murphy comes in to the locker room, and you have sort of the same scene from Starship Troopers where everybody's showering together.
Yeah.
So in RoboCop, everybody's like dressing together, like in the same room, and nobody cares if it's a woman or a man. Sort of in the future, nobody would care about male-female dynamic at that point.
And part of that's also just Verhoeven's European.
Yeah.
Fun tidbit is in the remake they did gender swap Lewis.
Yeah, they did. I remember that. Yeah, I was going to bring that. That was what I was thinking, because I thought at first like the character was kind of written, and then I can't remember if it was early on they decided to make it female or if it was when Verhoeven got involved. I couldn't recall.
It wasn't. I think at the first draft, it was a male, and then this once Verhoeven came in, second, third, fourth, they kind of changed it. The story from Nancy Allen is the fact that her friend said, well, you're a very sexy lady. You're very demure. Why don't you just put on male underpants just to get the vibe? And I was like, that's funny.
Didn't
And
she cut her hair short and stuff like that?
yeah, she actually did. She cut her hair short. She wore like male underpants, and she was like, "Okay, I get the vibe." Plus, her dad is like has been a cop in New York for 30 years, and she's like, "I know this character. I can play this character. I've been around these people. I know." So,
Well, it's a complete 180 from what she played in like Carrie and some of her other stuff, but
Yeah,
she has what it took. She's almost like a plucky kid herself. That's why her and Murphy kind of work together, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's ultimately like they both are very principled characters,
Yeah.
but they both have minute flaws. And ultimately, what gets them both ultimately Murphy into the mess is their brashness.
yep,
You know,
She's a little Lois Lane too.
Yeah, yeah.
kind of, yeah.
And
Just a little.
just as like Murphy's humanity peeks through, one of the themes in the movie that I noticed because I rewatched it with my wife a couple months ago is that there's moments where she puts on this strong personality, but there's moments where her femininity peeks through. I mean, obviously the scene in the beginning when she looks at Joe Cox, but but there's scenes where she's more empathetic and nurturing with him as he's trying to recover his humanity, and I think that's
especially
why.
when she stops him the first time. It's like, Murphy, is that you?
Yeah.
Like, she kind of knew because of the gun twirl and all that stuff, but you could tell, right? So Detroit wasn't actually Detroit; it was actually Dallas.
Yep.
The OCP headquarters is Dallas's City Hall. They just added the extra building on top of it. What they were going for
Which is one of the best map paintings I've ever seen in a movie, by the way.
Yeah. I paused it. I could not tell where the seams are, which is always
It is one of the. I never knew it was a map painting until I was an adult and watched the make. I'm like, what? And I can usually tell.
Yeah, there's in the Netflix thing, Ed Neumeyer is actually there, and you can see how the building looks from the same angle of where
Right.
like, Murphy stopped. You see the building with the extension, but he stands there and is like, "Oh, this is amazing. I there's no seams. It's great."
Yeah.
Why Dallas? Because at the time, Dallas was really developing. Whether it's the show that kind of got investors in, the Dallas show, I mean, or whatever, they had a lot of new and shiny kind of glass
Well,
buildings.
And let's be real, Detroit. Nobody wanted to shoot in Detroit.
Well,
Your move, creep.
saying nobody wanted to shoot in Detroit is kind of a poor choice of words there.
Well, they did, but not a movie. Robo probably would have got shot.
But the thing
Peter
is,
would have been like, "I'm not bulletproof. I'm not bulletproof. Stop."
one of the last scenes that they shot was the gas station explosion. Now, Verhoeven was going all Michael Bay, more explosions, bigger explosions, bigger. So the crew who was in charge of the explosives were like, "He wants a big explosion. We'll give him a big explosion."
And this was in an actual neighborhood at night.
This was at a neighborhood at night. They didn't warn anybody, and the blast radius where like glass shattered was several blocks away.
Yeah.
Which was like, it actually changed laws of what you can do in Dallas, like in the city limits, which is hilarious. It was always good. When they started to shoot back in August of '86, the suit wasn't ready. Weller was there. He also had when he signed off, he had to sign in with his mime coach.
Yeah. This is important.
And they started to shoot. There was no suit for him to even do, not top, nothing. So they shot whatever they could shoot, and then they got stuck because Rob Bottin is a perfectionist. He works slow, takes a while. So everybody was sitting around at 100-degree heat in Dallas in August, waiting for it, and everybody was looking at Peter Weller doing mime shit trying to be a robot out in the middle of, downtown.
He had done this for like, what was it, 3 or 4 months? He had worked with this mime guy now.
Yeah, something
At this
like
point, because that was the whole thing. Is as soon as they got the suit on, he storms out of the trailer and he's like, "The son of a bitch doesn't fit." And Verhoeven's like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "I can't do any of the shit that I've spent the last few months training to do." He's like, "Look at this. I can't move. Can't do nothing." So they were panicking and freaking out because they're like, "Well, what are we going to do? We can't shut the movie down. We shut the movie down, they're going to shut us down." Right? Like, so they were trying to scramble to think of ways to keep the movie going, rework the suit, and allow Peter to kind of rework his entire body, because that's the thing, is he had done this whole like idea and routine of how a robot should move and all this kind of stuff. He had specific movements down, almost like a dance. And then as soon as he put the suit on and he couldn't move at all, he's like, "Well, I got to reconfigure my entire thing," and he refused to shoot.
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm not going to look like a fool in this thing,"
And you know what?
Didn't he do all the mime work in like jackets and like thick clothing?
He did it in
Yes.
he did it in a ballet suit underneath everything.
Yeah.
But the whole point is they did not expect him to be that limited in his movement. Like, he literally thought he would be able to move a lot more than he did. And then when you get into real, like, he only could move his arms up like this high.
Yeah.
He could only move them like this far, this back, like he could barely move. He could not even really move his torso at all. If he's like screw bending over, like, and he had the things all the way up to his hips.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So he could barely move to walk. So like he had to move. He's like, I had to basically learn everything, and he's panicking. And of course, so everybody else is panicking because he's panicking, and they're sitting there sawing off pieces to try and get more movement out of the suit, and sawing off pieces of rubber here and there in the joints, trying to get it all to work. I think Botine freaked the hell out. Like, panicking left. I don't know.
It's unclear, but because everybody remembers it differently.
Yeah.
Some people said the first day took 8 hours. Some people said 12. Some people said 15 hours just the first day. And then Verhoeven was like, "Fuck this, you're ruining my movie. We'll reveal it bit by bit." And that's why when they start to shoot him, you only see like from the head, and then you see only the torso, and you see him through the glass. So it's a little bit,
Like a reveal.
a reveal thing.
And of course, whenever he's in the car, he's only got the top half on.
No.
Stuff like that.
There's a lot to be said too, and not to derail, but when you look at like how some of these old movies had to work around technical and production limitations, and as a result, they came up with these like memorable establishing shots. And it's funny, we think of Robocop, we think of these shots where they're doing the slow reveal and how much of a buildup there was. And, to go back and look through the production history, and it's them working around the limitations, but it works so well in the filmmaking process. And I think a lot of modern filmmakers forget that the importance of those sort of shots and the buildups.
It's this whole production. They said that they did not like the entire production. Everybody was miserable, whether it's the heat, the fact that there was constant fighting, the fact that Paul Verhoeven wanted to just go. And when people like sound people were like, "We need to mic these guys. Otherwise you're not going to get audio." And he's like, I want to shoot.
Yeah,
maybe I'm mistaken.
You're fucking me. You're ruining my movie. You're fucking me.
I thought Kurtwood Smith was like one of the few people that actually did enjoy the production of.
Well, he was kind of one of the ones that sounded like they knew exactly what they were looking for, and when he came in the room, he was exactly what they were looking for.
Yeah.
Because Bartiger was written as kind of this, and there was a specific guy, I can't remember the real guy's name.
Yeah,
that he was
Heimlich
based
Himmler.
upon. Thank you.
Mhm.
And so they wanted a specific look for him, and as soon as they saw Kurtwood, they're like, "That's the guy."
Yeah.
And Kurtwood has this great panache about him, fellow Wisconsinite, but yeah.
The thing about Kurtwood Smith is one of the first things that they actually shot, because they couldn't have some of the Robocop thing in it, is some of the first things they shot with him is him getting arrested, and
The POV stuff, right? Yeah.
when Robocop actually puts him like book him, he's a cop killer.
Yeah. Oh, that part, yeah.
Some of the first shots that they did with the suit was that, and he came to Paul, was like, Paul, why don't I just like spit on the fucking desk?
Yeah.
And Paul was like, we can do that. And they did the shot. And he said, the moment I asked him that, I had no problems with Verhoeven whatsoever. We were just connecting, and anything we wanted to do for this character, we've done. It's like he agreed.
He's got all the best lines too
Yeah.
in the entire film.
Bitch.
Just give me my fucking phone call. Just look at my face, dick.
Where was I?
Sorry.
Yeah, right. The last kind of things I want to say is Peter Weller did not want to read the Prime Directive as it was written. And Paul Verhoeven was adamant that he did. There was some point where Weller said, well, I'm not going to do that. One of the producers called his agent and said, if he's not reading it verbatim, I'm going to eat $7 million and get a new casting. So, and what they did is have his stunt guy do some of the shots. And when Weller kind of heard that they're doing that, he was like, okay, I'm going to do it. He went and made peace with Paul Verhoeven. Once he shook Paul Verhoeven's hand, Paul was like, okay, let's start shooting. Let's start.
Peter Weller was a nightmare, I guess. And that's probably why he has not made a ton of movies, I would imagine.
Yeah.
He seems like he's very difficult to work with.
And one of the last things is the vignettes that they have throughout the movie. The I'll buy that for $1 was modeled after Benny Hill, which was great. I didn't see any parallels, and I've seen Benny Hill, but
Well, there's also some Howard Stern thrown in as well, early Stern.
Okay. I didn't
From what I've read about it.
Okay.
I'll buy that for $1.
Yeah. The original cut was slapped with an X because of gratuitous violence in war. And they had to shave off a few seconds, and Paul Verhoeven was not having it. And we're talking about like 12 seconds off the like initial cut. And they kind of said, well, Paul, you were signed in to deliver an R-rated movie. Please deliver an R-rated movie. So he's like, okay, but you fucked me. You fucked me on this. And it's so strange that every time he's like, you need to do this, Paul. It's like, oh, you fuck me. Even like, Paul, we're already at 12 million. They can only give us 13 and a half. It's like, we can't get you anymore. It's like, this should cost 17, $20 million. You're fucking me again. Interesting guy. That didn't come up when we did Basic Instinct.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, this is probably why he didn't make the sequel. I don't think he.
Yeah, I don't
got
think
along
he
with
wanted
anybody.
I
don't think he wanted to do it either. Like, I think he was good to just move on from this.
All right. Anything else?
It was a nightmare. And he was one of the only ones who had said from the start that it was going to be a nightmare to make this movie, and nobody believed him.
You know, the crazy part about a lot of the cuts that took it from X to R is it is all in the opening of the movie. All that
Most of
violence,
it. There's one shot at the end too where he stabs Clarence in the neck. And again, this is where Verhoeven's argument, and it's sound, and he makes sense, and I think the MPA did fuck him a bit because the scenes that he did that they trimmed were gratuitous on purpose.
Yes.
Right? Because this whole movie is, to him, it's a cartoon, it's a comic book. So to make the violence and to the fact that kids loved this, the fact that the three of us guys here are talking, I guarantee you all three of us had seen this at a way too early age. Robocop is one of those movies that kids saw way too early, and it was because parents didn't pay attention to that little R rating. They just saw, Robocop, this is like a comic book thing. Kids will love it.
And in my case, it's a little different. I was very big into robots, still am. I'm one of the biggest Transformers collectors around.
Or that,
And I had a cool uncle who was basically just like, he's just like what I think Jamie's like 17 years older than me, so he's younger guy, and he's like, he'll be fine.
Well, and that's because the violence is a bit over the top and
Yeah.
cartoony. And once you add those, I think it's closer to 30 seconds, but you're probably right, something like that. Because most of it is when the guy's getting gunned down in the opening scene, right?
Yes.
And it is meant to be over the top because you do start laughing, and even has a punchline, right?
Yep.
2 of them actually, because he gets gunned down.
Ed Neumeyer,
Give him a hand.
in the premiere, he didn't walk in because he saw the movie countless times. He said, I'm just not going to sit again and watch this. And he said, well, people are laughing at the very start. People are laughing, so they get it. They even got it at the pre-screening, the one that actually got X. 10 people walked out during the whole Murphy getting like.
Well, that was more brutal.
Well, there's also the
than
Mr.
X-Cut.
Kenny,
Yeah.
Mr. Kenny thing as well in the opening.
Yep.
Well, the thing is with the he gets gunned down, and it's like a whole 10-15 seconds more of him just being mutilated by Ed 209, and from a top view, no less. So he's basically getting flattened like a pancake by this thing.
Yeah.
And the punchline is somebody call a paramedic.
Right. There's nothing left.
and then the other one is, Dick, I'm very disappointed.
Well, we all should.
Stay out of trouble.
Exactly.
You call this a glitch?
All right. Before we dive into everything, let's have a little game here. I think, Tom, you should only help out. Otherwise, you're going to get
Fair. Very fair. Very fair.
called Missing Marquee. Missing Marquee is where we take 10 posters of movies, have their text written off. We display them. Extrazero, Tom, and the chat will have to guess which movie this is. I've held this off for a little while because it kind of gives away right at the start. So let us begin. Of course.
Easy one.
Wait.
Patience.
Ugh.
Oh, I see it already. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I see it too. I can't see it full
I
screen.
know.
I know what it is. I know what it is.
I think I know what it is as well.
Here
Hey,
we
it's
go.
Mephisto.
Yes.
Is it Bloodsport?
What?
That's not Bloodsport.
That is not Bloodsport. No,
I was picking on it. It's the other one.
it's the other one.
Oh God, why can't I remember the name of this one?
There we go.
Oh,
Mike-
Kickboxer. They got it.
Paul Harley's got it. Here we go. Next.
Oh man, this is one of those movies that
You
I
might be
remember
able to figure out the title if you knew it. I bet you don't know what it is. Do you think he knows what it is?
Oh,
Second Sight.
No.
Knowing.
No,
Okay.
it's like I'm saying, does he know what it is?
Sight. You know what's weird? I looked at the Second Sight poster. It looks almost exactly
It's very
the
close.
same. Almost.
But I knew it was knowing because of the blowing up Earth at the top. That's the giveaway right there. That was actually a decent film.
I actually do like this film very much.
I know the movie. I know I've seen the trailer for it, but I can't remember the title.
It's a fantastic movie. Tom, do you know it?
Saving Mr. Banks.
Save
Mary
it.
Poppins, y'all.
Yeah. It's all good.
Oh yeah, this one is
I didn't like this movie. I think I started to watch it and kind of left it. My wife watched the whole thing.
This was from Stiller's serious phase, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a later movie. I think it's 2014, 2015. There we go. Jay is
Walter
here.
Mitty, there we go.
Walter Mitty. It's The Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
Oh, that's World War Z. That's an easy one.
World War Z is correct.
Cabaret?
Cabaret, correct.
Peach Trees. Is that the one with Hugh Jackman that came out a couple years
No.
back? No.
This isn't
It could
not
be.
Elysium.
Yeah, it's not Elysium.
No, it's trying to think Peachtree is
It's
Peachtree.
not like the main poster of the movie. Thank you, Paul.
Dread.
It's-
Dread's
Oh, that's what I was
3D.
gonna say. I knew I should know it.
It's 2012. I thought the peach trees would have given it away, but
I knew
Oh.
I should. Yeah, I know. I feel like an idiot.
Drive.
Yeah.
That's an easy
that
one.
is correct.
Oh, it's the Jane Goodall movie, isn't it?
It's the Jane Goodall movie, correct? But which
What
one?
was that called? It had some sort of
It had Brian Brown.
Gorillas in the.
wasn't Grills in the Mist, was it?
It is Gorillas in the Mist.
Huh.
This one's this one is tough because it's not a well-known movie of his. You can tell who it is.
Mel Brooks.
Yes, this is Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
I'll
I
give
don't-
you a
I'm-
hint. It's
I'm
his
stumped on it.
Hitchcock parody.
Oh Lord, what was that called?
Doba Fett's got it.
High Anxiety.
Anxiety, yep.
Anxiety, yeah.
Tried to help.
I saw that. I saw that and was like, "Yo, Tom."
It's a cool poster. It's like
It's a very cool poster.
I can't believe I screwed up the Dread one, man. Now I feel like I should kick myself in the butt.
well, I think it's like Dread. You think of the mega tower.
Yeah, I should have known
You
that
know,
was some
if it said Mega City One on it, I would have been like,
Yep.
easy.
instantly. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
Peachtree stuck out to me, and I'm like, which one is that? Because it's like, you know, like, yeah.
Well, it is what it is. All we know is
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
dead or alive. You guys are coming with me, and the
I'm taking this guy out for ice cream.
we start with basically with a few vignettes where, to me, as soon as I saw the vignettes, I was like, oh, that's right. Paul Verhoeven started these vignettes, and then it carried over to Starship Troopers as well.
Mm-hmm.
But
He
when
kind of has his own universe, yeah.
when this I don't know, he in one of the interviews he thought, well, in the future a lot of the American commercialism will kind of seep into our day-to-day life, which it has basically.
Well, yeah,
And-
but he kind of considers Starship like in the same universe as Robocop. Like that's his Robocop sequel, as far as I heard him say, basically.
Okay, I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And but as soon as it kind of ends, it starts with come on, yes. It starts with kind of introducing Murphy to Detroit. He goes in. There's like the mean sergeant, like shouting at everybody. Lewis comes in, beats up a guy who was up for booking, and he kind of got loose, so she kicks his ass.
Well, it's meant to show how much of a struggle they're having right now. How
Right.
these guys are basically getting killed by the dozen.
Yeah, and
daily.
there's the guy who got hurt, and once the sergeant kind of gets word that he dies, he comes in and he takes off the name off the
nameplate,
board,
yeah.
and he says, well, the funeral is at this time. If you can show up, show up. If not, it's fine. But yeah, they're killing us out there. That whole thing about that out there is really tough. These guys are having a tough time out there.
And Murphy was just transferred from a neighboring precinct, so he basically has just moved his family
Yeah.
to, you know. Well, I don't think they moved. I think they stayed in the same place in the suburbs. But
No,
I think
he just moved from a more quiet zone.
yeah.
yeah, nobody could understand why he would want to go there. Yeah, I think that was part of the thing. But yeah,
I think he
so I
said
think
he wanted
he
more
transferred.
action.
Yes, yeah, I was gonna say because it was his choice to transfer. Like, and everybody else is like, we're all trying to transfer out or something like that. I can't remember, but yeah.
Yeah, and their whole thing about Lewis is like, let me drive first because I'll show you around, and he's like, no, I'm gonna drive. And the thing is, Nancy Allen said that once they put her in that car, she was like, I love this thing, and she drove like a maniac through the set every time
They
they
had
put
the
me on
Ford
the
Focuses, didn't they?
Yeah, it
The
was
new
so
Ford
strange.
Focus, yeah.
I don't have the picture right now, but I went to when I was in Vegas. I went to this car museum, and it's all replicas and everything. But the actually OCP police replica was really, really good. Was actually looking really, really good.
Yeah, I think they got given like a dozen like Ford Focuses by Ford before they even came out.
Yeah,
Was like the deal, but yeah.
and of
then
course,
the 6000 SUX is an older car though, but yeah.
Taurus.
Or they're Ford Tauruses. Thank you. I knew they were one or the other. Yeah, sorry, my bad.
It's same thing.
Pretty much.
So as sort of as the other side of the equation is actually OCP, where they're sitting around at this giant table having a like a business presentation, and of course the first couple of characters that they introduce is not them. It's like the Miguel Ferrer and the other dude and Kenny who are in,
Johnson and
yeah, who were in the elevator going up, and they're kind of saying that Dick Jones's character is like kind of an asshole, and why do we need this presentation, and why are we doing this? And like the Miguel Ferrer character is like, I've got a solution. I need to find an opening, and he does as soon as Kenny gets completely destroyed.
Bob Morton's an interesting character in the movie because, when you first watch it, he presents like a bad guy and he's very flawed. But it's interesting on repeat watches, he's more of a gray character.
What do you mean?
Well, so Bob Morton has, he has vices. And I think, when I first saw the movie when I was younger, I used to assume that Bob Morton, as Miguel Ferrer's character, was a bad guy. But he just had ambitions and he had some vices. He wasn't a completely altruistic character by any means, but it's
yeah. I just didn't understand why you mean like a gray character. As soon as Kenny is still splattered over there, he's like, well, I've got a solution for you.
Right.
We've got this project going on. I was like, I'm gonna present something that will help you while we fix the Ed 09.
Right down to like where they're rebuilding Murphy as Robocop, and they're like, the scientists are like, hey, we managed to salvage the left arm, and he just is like, no, I thought we agreed on total body prosthesis, and even Johnson stepping in to say, no, he signed the paperwork, we can do whatever we want to him. So that's why I mean they're morally gray. Like they, he's not a bad guy, but he doesn't.
He's just basically your basic 80s cutthroat.
Yep.
I mean, is he bad? Not as bad as the bad guys are.
Yeah, not Dick Jones, but
not as bad as Dick and those guys. But he's not good. He still works for OCP, right? Like, I mean, the movie does a really good job because you're right. Like any other movie would have made him like the tragic hero, or not hero, but the tragic good guy. At the end, he'd be like, he'd get some outro and he'd be like, "Go get him, RoboCop." Ugh. Or some stupid shit like that. Like, you know what I mean? You're like, just the fact, of course, a guy like this would have to be this kind of guy to be able to do that to somebody, right? Because he's got to think about the moralistic points of this. Is like, they're literally taking a dead guy and shoving him into a robot.
The body's not even cold yet.
Yeah, the body's not even cold yet. And it's like, we're just going to keep them on the job even after they're dead.
One of the things that came up once they I mentioned that gas station explosion, that was either the last day of shooting or one of the last days of shooting in Dallas, where the Dallas officials like, please leave. They were already packing up and going here, where this set is actually in Pennsylvania, where they have sort of that industrial kind of center that was basically already abandoned at this point. And they said that, I think Kurtwood Smith said this entire place was beautiful to use because it was exactly what they needed. So like an abandoned industrial place where it kind of looks menacing. There's a lot of like sharp edges and everything's kind of dirty and grimy. And it's exactly what Paul Verhoeven was going for. with all the toxic waste and everything. And they have, I'm specifically showing the plant and not showing what's going on in the plant because it's very, let's say, very brutal. But one of the things that came up in terms of it was funny or sort of like telling you about the characters is the fact that once Murphy's on the floor, Bodyguard was like, well, am I going to shoot? It's like, no. He found it very funny to do. It was one part like dark and one part hilarious. But yeah.
I was just say what I love about Kurtwood in this movie is the personality that he brings to the character, right? Like, I mean, he is such a different kind of bad guy than we've ever really seen before. I mean, I wouldn't say he's like Bond type bad guy. He's definitely not that, right? And but he's also not. He's not quite mustache twirling, but he's also not like the type of bad guys we were used to at this point.
He's into it for personal gain, but you can tell he gets off on it. Like he gets off on being a bad guy. Like it's for him, it's not. It's like the money is nice and the power is nice, but he just. Yeah, he feeds on it, and he's so charismatic in the process that it just makes him such a presence when he's in that role.
Yeah, you can see why he could control these guys because not only is he the smartest guy in the room, he has that charisma, like you said, and it makes him almost likable. Right? You almost get to a point where you're just like, I kind of like this guy. He's a dick. He's a killer. He's a murderer. But you can tell why people like him because he's just got this thing about him. But also,
it's that swagger that he has.
It's that Joker kind of thing, though, too, because you're right. Like, he would totally. I mean, even though he gets pissed off about the money earlier in the movie, he is almost one of those guys where he would be like, look, I don't give a shit about the money. It's about the principle.
It's like that scene when they're in the drug lab and and he pisses off because you have the rival crime boss, the guy that's the manufacturer.
The Tigers are playing tonight.
Yeah, and it's like you see just what you were talking about. That sort of even in universe, that sort of charisma wins a guy over who they just had guns pointed at everybody.
Guns.
That little line, and then when that guy in front of kind of backs down, it's like, oh, I was just kidding.
Yeah.
And it really kind of reminds me of sort of the same scene in like the Batman, like Heath Ledger's Joker, right?
Yes.
That guy who doesn't really care. He's just up for like doing some chaos. But we'll thank Scott Westbrook for Shiba Inu saying a good job while raising thumbs up. Thank you. So Murphy gets killed, and we have Morton kind of like, cut off the arm. We need him, like, we only need his brain in there. We don't need anything else.
You're going to be one bad motherfucker.
Yeah. And this is part of the reveal, the fact that he starts off with, you just see the POV of them having the operation, having a little bit of a flashback. What were you going to say, Hero?
I was going to say, I'm sure Tom knows this, but they actually used a real doctor in that ER scene.
Yeah.
And, the guy, says, call it. Yeah, they used a real doctor in that scene. I think that's such a cool thing.
I mean, this is like pre-ER.
It seems very realistic, yeah.
Yeah.
All you had was like General Hospital, which is like a soap, and you don't have the nitty-gritty ER talk that I think, kind of gotten used to in these medical shows nowadays.
Yeah. With the tracking shots on the gurney and everything.
Yeah, very.
Well, not only that, I think I remember, like, because my mom works in nursing. I think I remember right when it came out. She's like, "Wow, it was one of the first movies they actually did the paddles right, or something like that." She had said, or something like that.
Oh, so they put in the extra pads. They don't do that today.
Yeah, because she's like, they never. And not only that, she always hated when they do the thing too. She's like, "That's not how it works."
So, and then of course they introduce him to the OCP precinct, the worst one in Detroit. So they bring him in, and they have that prime directive thing where it says serve the public trust, protect the innocent, uphold the law. And then you have the 4 classified. And we're like, if you don't pay attention, you're like, okay, I guess. But if you do, you're like, what is this classified thing? I want to know more about this.
A little insurance policy.
Little insurance policy. And then they get him off to the range. I want to get a good shot of it. We'll have this, I guess. Where he's like, this, I want, this is part of the gear porn. That gun. I remember after watching I watched it on home video. After watching this, every single kid in my classroom wanted that gun. This came out 87. I saw the VHS at 88. I was 9 years old. Was that 4th grade? No, 3rd grade. I wanted this gun so badly, but you can only get it like with this little figurine, and you get like a tiny, tiny little thing. But yeah, it's like a souped up Beretta 93, like Paul said. Yeah.
I think it had like a 30-round magazine.
Yeah, it had like, and it's supposed to shoot like 3 rounds at a time.
Does 3 at a time, yep.
You would be out after the second shot, I think.
Like, brrrum, brrrum.
And it's mostly down to how cool it sounded and how amazing it looked, rather than
He got a goddamn cannon.
Yeah.
And not only that, but the reveal with the leg holster.
Yes.
That was just
That is bitching how that
so
works.
iconic.
That is one of the things that kind of like, this is, like I said, gear porn wise, it was, oh my God, this guy's got the gun in his leg. Oh, I want to see more. And as soon as soon as you see this, you see Nancy Allen Lewis kind of walks in and she recognized that flip, but she's not quite there because she sees only the silhouette from the side, and she doesn't really hear the voice quite yet. And then the guy's like, Morton's like, we need a car, and Reed kind of throws the keys and he kind of picks it up and is like, thank you.
Not only that, but it's the way he drives the car too.
Yeah, when he goes out, it's the same way Murphy does, where he bangs the exhaust on the way out.
Mm-hmm.
This shot with the soundtrack is just with the it's not what the soundtrack was. It's the fact that you had that metallic ding every time, which was odd. It's like a full orchestra, and you hear these metallic bangs,
the cymbals
to accentuate the orchestra with a little bit of like a metallic tinge to it that really does it. And
it's Basil Polidorus for you, right? I mean,
it's great. He did what he did. He did
Conan. He's done
Destroyer and all
the. No, yeah, he did both of them, and then what was the other one he did? I'm trying to think. There was another big one he had done at that point too, but yeah, no, this is an amazing friggin' score.
Yeah.
And he did come back for part 3 to do the score, but Leonard Rosenman did it for the second one.
I love the fact that. Do you remember when you had in Superman 78, he saves Lois with a helicopter, sends her away, and then he has that montage of going out and helping other people, saving the president, taking a cat out of a tree, going to find these robbers in this boat, all that stuff. It's sort of the same thing here, where you get to introduce this Robocop superhero kind of a thing.
Well, this movie does follow the typical superhero basic origin story, and it does. You're right, 100% have that Superman scene, right, where he goes around and saves a few folks and shows what he's capable of doing, and then we start getting into the beef of the story. But like, yeah, this is some great stuff. Let the woman go.
Your move, creep.
Has everybody seen the awesome video out there where just Robocop just keeps shooting dicks?
Yes, the Fatal Farm did their Swayed, like when the movie Don't Be Kind Rewind came out, and there was like that thing about Swayed movies. It was a little bit of a trend on the internet for a minute. Oh, Mephisto, you'd love it because they had like
I'll have to send you that clip.
38 directors did little snippets to make their own remake of RoboCop. It's hilarious.
Oh, dude! I love
that bit is so good. I've actually tricked friends going, "Here, have you seen this deleted scene from RoboCop?" Because they said it almost looks exactly like the original, and people don't realize it at first. And then like they'll go like, "Wait, is this real? This can't be real."
And I love this one.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man. It's all good. But yeah, it's he saves this little old couple's grocery shop, even though he trashes the place, but you know, it's RoboCop.
That clothesline.
Yeah, the clothesline from hell.
Mm-hmm.
Probably causes more damage, you're right, than what the guy probably would have made off with.
That and bending the barrel of the gun is another iconic shot in that scene.
Yeah, and it ends up with him saving the Detroit mayor. And like I said, it's sort of like Superman, where Superman saves the president. It's like, don't look, just fly. And in this one, he's going through the wall to take this guy, and he just chucked him out of a window just for fun.
I want my old job back.
There's a lot of chucking through the windows scenes here that I think Paul Verhoeven's like, I don't know what he did, but he just throw him out of a window. It's just, throw Bodiger out of a glass window too. Why not? And then of course you get the again going into the vignettes and everything, and I like this vignette so much. It's Nukem.
Yes.
It's submarine. It's submarine, but with
Battleship.
A lot of consequence. Yeah, battleship, not submarine. Battleship with dire consequence.
A little bit of risk, a little bit of battleship, but a lot of weirdness. Yeah.
I like the fact that, oh my God,
Butler Brothers,
Ukraine. It's like, ooh, interesting. But then, of course, the story kind of really starts when we have this Morton going into almost a we'll call it violent interaction with Dick Jones's character, which of course I forgot his name.
Well, Ronnie Cox. Yeah, he's seeing his power slip away as this new young buck is slipping in, right?
Yeah.
So like, he's feeling threatened.
He's like, "Don't fuck with me." That whole thing, where it's like,
military contracts, parts for the next 23 years. Who cares if it worked or not?
Yeah.
Which kind of gives you a lot of the sort of behind the scenes of what's going on in this corporation, where they're out to make a buck. They don't really care about saving lives, saving people. They're just like, we just want to make tons of money now, and we don't give a fuck. And of course,
not only do they want to make tons of money, but they want to be the only player in town.
Yes. And what ends up happening on the other side, on RoboCop's side, he's in a resting phase, and suddenly he goes into this dream state, and he remembers his house. He remembers all stuff from.
Even though his memory was supposed to have been erased, he's starting to get flashes and memories, and he's having these bad dreams, and
from Bodiger killing him, and that kind of problem.
We haven't really explained or talked a little bit about what OCP is up to either.
Oh,
right, we kind of glazed over it. Like, this is the idea of this was like not too far from actuality at this point. We were getting to a point where we had a lot of private organizations getting involved with security. And you basically, at this point, you had a privately owned police force. This company was slowly owning this entire city. I mean, you could think about, okay, it's out of the realm of possibility, perhaps. But then again, look at shit like Reedy Creek.
Wow. Even look at like what's going on today with like industries like BlackRock, Blackstone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or like, I was thinking more like private prisons, where it kind of started in the U.S. and it kind of filters out starting to go into Europe, and they're even thinking about it right here. Where
Yeah, basically the privatizing of crime itself, or whatever you want to call it, or crime fighting. Yeah.
Yeah, and OCP kind of slips into that area where it's private security, it's supplying the military with basically drones, all that
Well,
stuff.
not only that, but it's a lot of it is property too, because there's the whole thing with Delta City where they want to actually get into real estate and control where people live and control the infrastructure, and that has a lot of driving things. Really, the thing is like the overarching message is that when you introduce cronyism, it's dangerous.
Yeah, because there's like a double to it too. It's not only are they doing what they're doing, they're also driving out the people that already live there, right?
Small businesses.
And by proxy, they're almost like this movie is insinuating that they are the ones that are driving the crime up so they can do this, right? So that's where the comic booky element comes into play over here. But there is almost a way you could step back and look at this and say, this is kind of part of the reason we got where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Like a lot of this stuff is not too far from reality. Like the back when this movie first came out, we kind of laughed at it. And how audastic, or I don't know what the word I would look for there, but just the audacity that they had to even kind of go to this extreme and say that these things could happen. And then you look where we're at today, and it's like, man, we're literally only a step away from this stuff happening at any given time. And it's crazy and insane to think about. And it's because this is not one of the movies that I would have had on my bingo card as far as like possible futures.
But
Demolition Man, neither, and we're close.
I think we're already there.
Yeah.
It's that moment. This the moment where he's basically confronted by Lewis, and Lewis kind of figuring out Murphy's.
And this is kind of what starts to spark his memories.
Yeah, because he was already in the moment where he's just not he hasn't tapped into looking for bodyguard just yet. He was just remembering his home life, and this is his way of just going out and trying to find his old.
Well,
home.
I like how he explains it at the end. He's like, I remember them, but not.
There he goes. I can feel them.
I can
but
feel
I can't
them,
remember them.
But I can't remember them. That's it. Thank you. Yeah, it's like I love how he says that, because that kind of gives us the idea of probably what he's going through. Like he has this pull inside, like, well, I got to get to my family. Where's my family? Or, what is my family?
And
right,
the
like
delivery.
There's
so much melancholy in how he delivers that line. Like he's, most people, if you can remember your family, you're going to have a bit more of anger and frustration. But in that line, there's just so much sadness and so much self-disappointment that like he knows that there's something out there bigger, and he was a part of it, but he has no idea how to tap into it or reclaim it.
It's almost kind of like, in a weird way, because this is one of those movies, and Verhoeven did put some of this stuff in there on purpose, that it does have a lot of theological questions being asked. Like, I mean, that whole thing about where he, even though he's had this happen to him and he's no longer even technically human anymore, he's this machine, right? His brain is ostensibly functioning like a hard drive. He's gotten to this point, but like that spark, the spark of God or whatever you want to call it, that keeps driving him to remember these things and remember who he was. And like he said, I don't remember them, but I feel them, right? Like that is, and then by the end of the film, I mean, he has come to us as the audience full circle. But this is where I think some people misinterpret the second film, and they feel like, oh, they just took away all the things that he did. No, what I think happened between the first and second film, I think people misunderstood, is he came to terms with what it is, accepted now what he is, and that's why he tells his family, his wife, like, Murphy's dead and all that stuff, because he wants to move on.
Yeah, because that scene with Clara, like you could tell he's really trying to save her feelings, because leading up to that, there's the whole what kind of love can you provide for her? Can you provide a man's love? Basically saying without saying like, hey, you're is gone.
Because when he reemerges at the end there without the mask and he's full on hero, he is the new Murphy now that we're seeing. Yeah. He's both RoboCop and Murphy at the same time. He's not just one or the other. And again, like I said, I dove deep into this movie's like messages, because you literally got Verhoeven has him walking on water at the end, guys. Yeah.
He basically does. Monkey Jeeves, we kind of mentioned the fact that Paul Verhoeven's movies kind of are in the same universe of sorts. It's just different times. Especially like Tom said, that Robocop,
Starship Troopers. Yeah.
Troopers are kind of in. They definitely could be in the same universe.
There's a direct line.
There's a lot of things that are very parallel between those two movies. What Robocop does once he gets his dream is first he was trying to look for Bodyguard, and the first thing he looks kind of
some of his accomplices,
right? Paul McCrane's character.
Well, actually,
another
rewind
great
a little
pick.
bit, because he has the first scene to get him to this point wasn't it? He goes in.
Oh, you saw him go a little bit forward.
Yeah, because it was like his first defiant act, where the first time the man overcomes the machine, when he goes in and searches the database.
Yep.
No, that's literally right after this.
That's right. Okay, that's right, because Emil's the one that
went a
jogs.
little
Okay,
Because he jogs his memory. Yep.
Your little screen is me going backwards and forwards trying to get that
Yep.
specific moment. And one of the things is it's
You a college boy?
the gas station scene
Yeah.
where he's like, dead or alive, you're coming with me. Oh, wait, I got it. Wait, I got it.
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
Right? So
You're dead.
he runs away, but he gets him with so Paul McCrane kind of destroys the entire gas station. The big explosion, like we said, but Robocop is unoffended, shoots him. The guy skids away on the bike. He takes him and he's asking him, "Who are you? Who are you?" And then
Well, I think it does need to be noted that RoboCop actually doesn't kill anybody until the end.
yeah.
no, he does not. Right up until
As violent as the movie seems, he actually doesn't. Because they even made a point to make sure that you know that dude that he threw out of the building is still alive.
Yeah. I want to get to that point where it's sort of like the "fuck you" moment. I already saw it as like flipping off the guy.
Oh yeah, with the little the what do you call it? His
This is
sticker
a
or whatever.
restricted area.
It's chink.
There we go. I got it.
His
Like,
knife
fuck
pointer
you.
thing.
Like
Yeah.
flipping him the bird. I was like, "Fuck you." Oh wait, this is how I communicate with this computer, a la R2D2.
That's Cecil or whatever his name is, isn't it?
Yep.
The guy from the beginning. Yeah.
I have no idea what the name.
It's
is.
kind of like the
He's the nerd. He's the tech. He's the IT guy.
nerdy guy. Yeah.
He gets a kind of big role in the game, actually. The game's fantastic, the one that came out last year.
I haven't seen it. I've seen the original, the game with Michael Douglas.
Oh, you would love the new game that came out,
I'll
because
check it out.
it's kind of like the old Deus Ex games in a way, but when you have like in between levels, you go to the OCP precinct and you get to walk around and talk to the cops and stuff.
Now, if you can back up just a couple of frames there, Mephisto. Because like when
where to-
Robo's just when he's going through all the flashing of stuff, especially when it shows Alex Murphy deceased.
Oh
If you
yeah,
have that. Because this is something I didn't know until recently, and I think it might be true. They never actually say his name throughout the whole movie, I guess. And for the longest time, he was just because he's just Murphy, referred to as Murphy throughout the film.
it's Alex
is,
Murphy.
Yep.
But
When do they say it though?
I thought his wife did in
they,
the flashbacks.
in the flashbacks, he says Alex.
Nope. I was going to
No,
say, because
she
that's one of the
doesn't, huh?
points. Because I believe in the original script, or at least because this is where Peter
saying-
Weller had done some interviews.
Sorry, the X is missing from this frame,
Yeah.
but it is Alex Murphy.
Yeah. But here's my point I was getting to is they didn't actually have his name in the script. I think he was just Murphy or John Murphy. Because Peter Weller early on with some from interviews from the set, he's referring to his character as John Murphy. And I guess they never actually call him Alex throughout the entire film.
I'm trying to rewind back to see.
Yeah.
Uh,
I thought they did in the opening shot too, but I don't know. At that point, maybe they hadn't.
no, Reed
doesn't?
says Murphy, not Alex Murphy.
Yep, that's what I thought too, because I was like, I think they're right. Because that was the first time you see his name is on that
Yeah.
computer screen, and that would be an insert anyway, which would have been shot way later. So yeah.
Yeah, it's the fact that he kind of remembers. I love this scene because it kind of has that moment where he walks around this empty house and where he goes into like the bedroom. It kind of flips over to him and his wife having a thing going. And then it kind of flips back to being empty, which is great. Now, both of you have lost your avatars.
Oh, mine's still on my screen.
Yeah, I just went off camera for a second to fix something.
No,
I'm still here.
No, it's good. Yeah, it's an EV.
I'll be on for a bit.
It's all good. And then, of course, he has that information about the Bodyguard Associates, where he goes off to this club and he picks up. I don't remember the guy's name, but
His second in command guy. I can't remember his name, but yeah, he's the quiet one.
he's the actor that later on in Twin Peaks was the dad of the deceased girl, who like he was the. Never mind. I'm not gonna say it because if you haven't seen Twin Peaks, go watch it. But he was the dad of the deceased girl, and always shall be. But
It's Leon Nash, isn't it?
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, it's Leon.
And he's like, "Where's Clarence Bodiger?" He wants to know where he is, and it's like, "Fuck you!" So he grabs him by the hair and just gets him out of the club. And of course,
2-second shot of Verhoeven in here too. I don't know if you've caught that.
I did not.
It's literally Verhoeven going at the camera for like a flash of a second, and they cut it in there.
Well, like I said, it's really hard to pinpoint the exact second.
It is just so quick, and they put it in there. The editors put it in, and he didn't know they put it in. It was just like from an outtake of
That's
him.
not Paul, is it?
No, I don't think that's him. But it's in that same kind of bit where they're cutting through just a bunch of people dancing, and it's just him going like this. And he saw it. He's like he loved it. He just laughed because he didn't expect it when they saw it in the screening part.
Well, he was trying to fill in. There was not enough.
No, they just threw it in there as a joke. Because like it was just him, because it was in that scene where they were shooting, and he just probably was just doing whatever, and he just did like a mad face at the camera, like just goofing around. So they took that little bit and they snipped it in there and just cut it in between all the dancing and stuff. It's really quick. If you're not paying attention, you don't notice it.
I was trying. I love the fact that he just shoots him and it doesn't go through. So he kicks him in the nuts for some fucking reason. Like a bullet didn't go through, but your kick will. It's just.
I mean, partially comedic effect, and then also I think too, it's kind of done to show that like, okay, well, hey, what's the most human way to hurt a man?
Man, I keep forgetting. I wanted to set it up, but yeah, I wanted to get this shot of Clarence Bodiger coming in, and Morton's like, "I've made it, so it's time to bring out the coke."
That's quintessential 80s there.
Yeah, I'll get it. There we go.
That's literally the entire shot. Because as you can see, there's nobody behind him, so I think it was just from like him just goofing around. But they cut it in. He laughed and liked it, so they left it in the movie.
So I like the fact that he was Morton going partying out with some bitches, and Bodiger comes in and is like, "Bitches leave."
Well, this is just Kurtwood Smith relishing this character. Like he came up with the whole tongue on the
pin,
pulling out the
pin. When he pulls out the thing. Yeah, that's a lot of what I said. The trust between Kurtwood and Verhoeven was like their work together on this character, or what should this character do, or how he should say these things, are a collaborative effort between what Verhoeven wanted in terms of mood, in terms of feeling that you get from the character, from this villain, and Kurtwood Smith with suggestions that Paul really, really liked. So he just incorporated everything in. And the fact that he puts on a disc and is like, "Oh, this is me fucking you over. Say bye, say night-night," and everything kind of explodes from one little grenade, but okay. I get you. Yeah, this face. It's the
Smug.
I won phase and you're about to die kind of smile. And
And
it's
if I
so
remember right, since we were on Ronnie Cox, I think he had to kind of fight to get this role, if I remember right, because it was so against the type of characters that he had played previously.
Well, Kurtwood too. Like Kurtwood was not a bad guy in any of his
No,
previous
but when
roles.
they
Yeah.
had an idea what they wanted for him, but I believe when they first were presented with Ronnie, they're like, no, he's not right for the part. Like they were thinking they wanted someone, and then I think he had come in and had to convince them, like, no, trust me, I can play this kind of role. In fact, I want to do this, kind of thing, to
and
get
Verhoeven-
away from the goody two shoes kind of
Mhm.
image that he had. Yeah.
somebody in the chat, don't remember who, said that he was kind of working on this and Beverly Hills Cop 2 at the same time.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
But on Beverly Hills Cop 2, he didn't have a lot of stuff to do. He's basically gets murdered at the beginning of the movie.
It could have very well been why they used him to get clipped too at the beginning, so he's out of the film through most of it.
And he doesn't
I
have
never
a
checked
lot
into
of,
that.
like he doesn't have a lot of lines in here either. There's the boardroom scene, the bathroom scene, this where he's just talking to the camera, and like when he was getting arrested by
He's still pretty prevalent though.
I guess
I mean, he is your main bad guy. I mean, that's the thing.
he's your main bad guy. All right, so we will do a casual stop here, and we'll play our second game of the night. It is called Screen Fighter.
Round 1. Fight.
Screen Fighter is where we take two movies, pit them together, and see which one is the best one. If there's no discernible difference between the two, both of them are good, both of them are bad, we fall into our criteria, which is Friday evening, Saturday evening, out with the boys, out with the girls, out with their significant other. Two movies in a vacuum. Which one will we pop in? Ba-bam. Two Tom Cruise movies, Edge of Tomorrow or Mission Impossible Rogue Nation.
That's a tough one because I think that's my favorite of the Mission Impossible films.
All
But I
right.
think I'm going to have to give Edge of Tomorrow the edge just for being an original film and not a sequel, I guess.
Yeah. Edge of Tomorrow also is a movie that, even though it has a gimmick, it still works on repeat views.
Yeah.
So I'd lean towards that.
I didn't really like the Mission Impossibles after the first one. Fallout's good. The other ones, they're not. Even the second one, it's not really bad. It's just got too much John Woo-isms.
Yeah. And the
It's
mask
not as
gimmick.
bad as I recall.
No,
Sorry.
it's not. It's not as bad. It's just got too much. It was, like Michael Bay did first Bad Boys, and it was really good, and then he did Bad Boys 2, and it went over the top.
Kind of.
To me, Face Off was a really good John Woo movie, and then Mission Impossible 2 was like over the top.
Well, this is Rogue Nation, and here's the thing with this. This is probably one of the better of the latter sequels, but I get a lot of flack for this. But I compare the Mission Impossible sequels to the Transformer movies. And I don't mean it as far as like quality of story, but I mean the fact that they are literally the same movie over and over and over and over and over and over again. There's not real much deviation in the films to the point where I could, just like with the Transformer movies, half the time I got to sit there and remember which one is which. Like I kind of think I remember which, and that's what I'm saying. Like I think Rogue Nation is the one that I like. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like same thing with Transformers. It's like Dark of the Moon, whatever. The one with the third one or whatever. The one with the Spock. That one's okay. Otherwise, they suck. Like that's how I got to go with those. So it's like 'cause they're all the same story. Same thing here.
Bumblebee is actually good though. That's the one that
different,
Travis
right?
Knight
Like
did.
that's a little
Yeah.
different, but like, yeah, with the Mission Impossible film. So yeah, I definitely got to give Edge of Tomorrow the edge here. Yeah, I think.
Me too. Shakespeare in
Ooh,
Love
easy.
or Bruce Almighty. It's easy for me.
Yeah, easy
Zero?
for me. Bruce Almighty,
Yeah,
comedy,
Bruce Al-
memorable.
I've seen Shakespeare in Love 2 days ago. Bruce Almighty.
Still
Big.
don't know how on that one best Oscar.
Big or Amazing Spider-Man.
Big.
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 Ooh,
District 9 or Porky's, and
Strange.
I love this poster for Porky's.
Yeah.
Strange team
Matchup.
Here.
Yeah.
They're two
Odd.
completely different movies, two completely different eras of filmmaking, and completely different audiences. So nasty comparison.
Yeah. As a fan of both movies, like you really got to be in a mood to watch District 9. Porky's is like one of those old comedy movies that it can come on. It also kind of transcends its time period as well. I'm going to give it to Porky's.
I think Extrazero's right. District 9 is probably the better film. But how much do we talk about District 9 still? We still talk about Porky's almost 45 years later. You know what I mean? So, like, I got to give the edge to Porky's on this one, yeah.
If I have kids in the house, District 9. If I don't have any kids in the house, Porky's. It's just fun.
Yeah. Like District 9 is depressing.
Regardless of the nudity and sex and stuff, the rest of the movie is just fun. Vampires or Goldeneye?
Okay, here's disclosure time. I've never seen Goldeneye.
I've never seen Vampires, but
oh wow,
yeah, believe it or not, I've never seen Vampires. Goldeneye.
Vampires, I consider the last John Carpenter movie, even though he made a couple afterwards. That's the last one that actually feels like a John Carpenter film.
See, this is where the chat comes in because I am on the fence. I didn't like Vampires that much, and I didn't really like Goldeneye that much, although it is definitely the best of the Pierce Brosnan movies. The problem with Pierce Brosnan as Bond, he was a great Bond in 3 really mediocre Bond movies. That's the issue.
The audience is going after Goldeneye,
The audience is done. Right. The last couple.
Easy one.
Gone Girl or Cocoon?
Cocoon.
Man.
Gone Girl's a great movie, and also the thing I appreciate about Gone Girl is it was the movie that made me actually appreciate Tyler Perry as an actor. Like, I thought he was a joke before Gone Girl, and then he kills it in that movie. Just kind of like with District 9, like you really got to be in a, like Gone Girl's a long movie. Once you get the twist, it's like they're and you know they're both awful people. It's a depressing movie. Like Cocoon isn't like the most happy movie, but at least it's got very heartfelt performances. Yeah, rewatchability and
Ron Howard.
Yeah, Wilford Brimley's great in it.
Berg.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, this kind of I agree with Extrazero, like with the Porky's District 9 thing. Gone Girl might be the more objectively better film in quotations, but Cocoon is the one that you'll watch again and again. And I mean, we grew up on this stuff. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I think the only reason Cocoon hasn't been in more conversations in the last 10 years or so is for some reason this movie has been kept out of circulation for the last.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's one of the Ron Howard movies that when Fox had it, they ignored it. And when Disney's owned Fox now, you'd think they would have, because this is like a perfect movie for Disney to pull out and say, hey, here we go. We got Cocoon. Duh.
I'm
surprised they haven't remade it yet.
Do you know who owns the rights?
Fox, as far as I know. So it'd be a Disney film now. Like, yeah, sorry. And Extrazero, Batteries Not Included was Universal, and that was an Amblin production.
Okay. Yeah, but that's a movie too that you don't see or hear anything about.
Another one for some reason,
Yeah.
I do have the Blu-ray of that. I do have the Blu-ray of Cocoon, but Cocoon I had to import. Believe it or not.
An import?
Yeah. It only came out on DVD in the US, and that's it. I got Cocoon the Return on DVD as well, but yeah, I had to import the Blu-ray.
The second one in a lot. Well, I haven't seen Cocoon in a while, but the second one is all right. Did they get Steve Guttenberg for the second one?
Yeah. Everybody's back for the second one, pretty much.
All right. Well, I guess that's why my channel exists. So I will probably.
The second one's one of those that was like the movie was okay, but
I'm gonna probably watch
more of the same
and do a review on it. So
more of the same, like you said.
This leads to the first time actually
one of the best scenes in the movie.
Kills people. as he kind of blasts his way through the whole guns kind of a
drug den.
and gets. I like the fact that everybody there is like filled with cocaine on their face. Everything
Makes me wonder what they used for cocaine. I never heard that. Like,
it was the 80s, so it probably just was.
I was gonna say, because here's the thing: if you guys don't know, flour can be combustible, so it's not wise to use like flour in scenes like this where you're gonna be using.
It could be those. There's a certain kind of sand or
Probably.
salt that they use. They just grind it up to a powder thing, and it's really nasty. Like I saw like the behind the scenes of this entire stuff that they filmed. Everybody's with a mask.
They say baby formula. I know they use baby formula for the stuff they snort.
I don't know. I haven't seen anything about it, but it's probably salt rather than full on flour. They could have cut it with a little bit.
Well, the reason I know this is because in Critters 3, they have that scene where the critters are like tearing up the kitchen and they have flour all over. And I can't remember what happened, but there was some flame involved there with like one of the bits, and the whole goddamn thing blew up and went up in flame.
What you may have missed said it could have been powdered sugar. That would make sense.
Yeah, that would make more sense. Yeah.
I have no idea. The fact that it stays a long time in the air, kind of puts me in the mind of it's probably that salt thing that they used.
Salt.
What? Yeah. They use some type of salt to do like snowy areas, and everybody says it's fucking nasty and they don't like it. But yeah, this scene is just fucking amazing because the shot where there's a guy upstairs, not on the thing, and one is going there, and then he goes underneath the armpit to shoot him because he already
not looking either.
Everybody once he pulls in, there's a moment where it's like everybody. Wait, I have this. There.
Come quietly, or there will be trouble.
Right, so he gets to target everybody there. You see his POV, and then when they start shooting, he's like, "Fuck these people!" Bam! He just destroys everybody. And Bodyguard's crew is smart because they back off, right, and run away. But Bodyguard, for some reason, stays. So he gets.
Well, no, we find out why he stays. Because he knew the classified directive.
You think so? He thought he would be
because when Robo captures him, he goes, I work for Dick Jones. Dick Jones. He runs the cops. He runs OCP, and I think he was expecting, different results.
No, he was going to get off, and he was going to throw Dick under the bus.
I don't think he knew about the directive. What I do?
No, I don't think he knows about the directive, though. No,
I think
he was going to throw Dick under the bus. Is what he was going to do.
I think what he thought was his like police protection would extend to RoboCop as well. That's why he was like, "Your boss is my boss too." Right. So, But he didn't even know he was getting recorded. That's why he said, like, I work for Dick Jones, trying to get his protection. And he's like, where is it? There. What did he do? He's a cop killer. He just walks away and have that Kurtwood Smith with that. He's like, spit on that thing. And give me my fucking phone call.
Real quick, while we got a slight pause, I guess there's some slightly breaking news. Richard Simmons passed away.
Oh wow!
Oh man,
because it was Dr. Ruth was what this morning?
Yeah, either yesterday or today. Yeah,
what was on Dr. Ruth?
Yeah, she died at
Dr.
96.
Ruth just died. Yeah, too, and he died at 76. Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, no workout tomorrow morning, I guess. Damn, that's a shame.
He was only 76. Day after his birthday.
Dude, do you know who got killed this week? Benji Gregory.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about killed. He did
hell.
die though. Yeah.
Died
It's
in
been a hell of a week.
car or
Yeah.
something from dehydration.
Well, they're thinking heat stroke, but yeah.
I don't know, man. That was a bad luck. And
Yeah, from Al.
all,
Wow.
all I can hear, my wife told me that, and all I can hear is Mexican Iron Man saying, "Woohoo!" It's like, well, fuck you, Mike. Sorry. So RoboCop, knowing what he knows, Dick Jones is the guy to go to. He goes to Dick Jones, and this is the aftermath of him trying to arrest Dick Jones, and he's like, he can't, and he has those contractions that he does, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, it's what's left of his RoboCop dance that he did with his like
Probably.
movement coach or whatever.
He kind of had to reconfigure everything and toss everything out at that point. And that's where they were trying to like not shut down production, because like Paul was like, well, just do it. And you know, Peter's like, no, I got to figure this out. I'm not going to look like an idiot, right? So he wanted to actually take a few weeks and redo and relearn how to work with the costume, like work in front of a mirror, like with the dance coach, mime coach again. And they're like, well, how can we do this and also shoot at the same time? So they found ways around it and worked with it all. Like Extra was saying, like they actually did different shots they could without specific parts of the
like the car. He didn't wear the bottom part of the suit.
Right, exactly.
Then,
so they did what they could, and then finally he kind of worked into it and figured out what he could do as far as movements, and then worked that into kind of more of like Robo movements.
Another challenge too, you know, talking about Benji Gregory and dehydration, is that Peter was losing like up to like 8 to 10 pounds a day wearing that suit. So they ultimately had to go back and install little air conditioning modules in it.
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, he was also somewhat of a diva, I guess, too, because that was one thing I love about the Robo Doc, is that it gives you a lot of the stories that you don't hear on the more studio owned or studio run kind of documentary stuff. Like they were talking about how Peter would just be like, he wouldn't shoot unless he'd get certain things he wants. Like in fact, the one shot he had to do where he's like up on the terrace thing looking down.
Yeah.
Like they were doing the opposite shot looking up at him, and he wouldn't come out unless he got some Oreos.
My God. Oh my God.
And the guy, one of the assistants is sitting there and he's like, Robo don't get, because they couldn't refer to him as, that was the other thing.
Oh, yeah.
He was so into the, he'd only answer to Robocop.
Give me some Oreos or there will be trouble.
And Rob Poutine was so adamant on like, no, Peter, your name is Peter. And he refused to call him Robo.
So anyway, so one of the assistants is sitting there with a stack of Oreos, and he's like, well, Robo don't get no Oreo unless he does the shot. And Peter's like, no, Robo want Oreo. He's like, you know what? He takes the whole stack and shoves it in his mouth, eats it, and goes, there, Robo no get no Oreo. Peter got so pissed. He went out there and he started screaming at Paul and shit. He's like, this fucking guy just going off and shit. And Peter denies this story, even though there's 5 or so other people that says this shit happened. So the famous Robo no Oreo story was one of the ones. But I guess this was just like a similar day for a typical day for Peter Weller on the set. He would be that way. He was just he seems like a really awesome guy to hang out with, but probably a very difficult person to work with. That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
Back when being difficult on set meant being difficult on set, and not just an excuse to fire a fucking actor.
He was also known to get caught. They're like, well, where the hell is Robo? He would be off banging some chick in his fucking trailer.
The top part of the suit on.
Yeah.
Now I'm having this this is like the car vignette, but when it came on, people thought it was just I think this
almost got cut from the film because it confused some of the audiences.
I think one of the assistant directors went up to the projector guy and asked him if he had the correct reel. because
because it is kind of jarring how it just kind of cuts into the movie
off.
like a commercial. Like, yeah.
And this is right after RoboCop gets shot by the cops.
Well, and it didn't help that Paul ended up getting a lot of these guys who actually worked on commercials to make these things. Right?
I think the car, the name of the car.
Oh, Phil! I think it was Phil Tippett who did the dinosaur. Of course, he had that. Already,
Yeah, of course, Phil Tippett.
But yeah,
well, they have him already. I wanted to see if I can get.
I can't remember if he said he built it or he already had it on hand. But yeah,
I love.
It's a great shot, though. I love it. Yeah, you got it right here. I see it. Yep.
And the name of the car is
6000 SUX.
It sucks. It just sucks. All right, but so what we have is basically Bodiger coming to Dick Jones and telling him, well, it's like, what is this guy? Just keep him off me. And Dick Jones is like,
It's supposed to be my protection. Yeah.
I have presents for you. And of course, Bodiger comes in and it goes to Murphy, gets rescued by Lewis and taken to this plant that they've used before. And
they called in the SWAT team to shoot on him, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. This entire SWAT team is the entire police department is there basically.
Yeah. But I recall, like, in that scene, there's like a little bit of infighting as far as like, wait, he's one of us.
Yeah, there is between the SWAT guys and just the cops who are there just to back him up. And remember that at this point, they were going on a strike.
Yes.
Right? They were planning on a strike, and then they were going on a strike as soon as after this particular night, because the next night is the streets are at full on chaos because there's no cops. And it starts with this where she brought him actually baby food, because at the start they show you that his food.
Yeah, Johnson tastes it.
Yeah, this is minerals and all that stuff. And Johnson kind of tastes it and is like, oh, this is baby food. And it's funny because it's sort of like he's reborn.
Yep.
To me, it was like he's reborn, and of course he needs baby food. That's what reborns are for.
Well, and that's kind of, it's a play also, it's because it's brought up earlier, that's what he eats. Right?
Yeah.
It has all the basic nutrients that he needs.
And then she brings those Gerber packets that I used to feed my kids even.
Yeah, the glass jars. Oh
yeah, the glass jars, and he takes the thing off, and
helmet.
You finally see him in his.
Which there's a little bit of movie magic here.
Two bits of
anybody
movie
else
magic.
Notice. Go ahead, Extra. Please.
The first one is like the way that he removes the retaining screws from the sides of the helmet. Like it's also done kind of for shock value, where they had to shoot it at a specific angle to make it look like it was actually coming out of the helmet, but it wasn't. And then secondly, it's the black plastic jaw piece.
Yep. Just disappears.
Yeah.
And his whole this part too, the whole thing, because it is like a whole section that comes up through here, and the helmet part and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So like all of a sudden, this stuff down here just disappears. It just falls away.
I always just imagine it just falls because it's just probably being held by the top of the. That's where I do my suspension of disbelief. Like once you take those two retaining screws out, the neck piece would fall.
They should have showed just an insert of it falling or something, but no, you didn't need it necessarily. Nobody notices until like their second or third or fourth, 15th, 20th viewing. Like
you're so fixated on and like the way he delivers the line, the way Lewis delivers the line, just like Murphy. He says it before she takes the makeshift mirror. What was he says? He's like, you might not like what you're about to see.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the audience is so fixated on the reveal of the face, and then she's not bothered by it, but just Murphy, it's you. And then, as the audience, you're kind of like, wow. We
basically get the third version of his character is what we get here, because they change his voice again.
Yes. The modulation goes away.
Yep. And he still has a deeper voice though, but yeah. And then I always was questioning this because I never understood quite, and I've asked a lot of people, and some people have said, oh, I didn't even think about that till you brought it up. because they never really quite tell us what part of his body's left and what we don't get to see, because he was shot in the head. Right?
Yeah, that's so I've done deep dives on wikis about this, and it seems like
you
they
kind of know
actually-
where I'm going,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, they did graft the skin on there, but eventually,
He's
what's
basically
going
an endoskeleton underneath with his brain encased, basically, is what I was
yeah,
assuming,
he's just
right?
a brain, part of a spine, and an exosystem. And those eyes aren't even his because he has thermal vision.
Right.
Like, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I always thought, was that his face was basically stretched over an endoskeleton. That's not even his skull anymore, basically,
Yeah.
is what I was always assuming, and I do too. I'll always ask that question. So.
In RoboCop 2, there's a glimpse of sort of like they give you the answer, but not quite it, because the bad guy gets shot, and you see in the tank, you've got his brain, his spine, and 2 eyes. And it was like, really?
Well, Kane doesn't get shot. He gets thrown out a windshield.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But what they preserved from Kane is just the brain and the stem, the spine, and the 2 eyes. But like, the robot that they put him in does not have any eyes. It's sort of a metal kind of thing that they have on, where it doesn't really have.
I'm sure he lost the eyes by the time he got inserted.
Yeah, they probably
into
just
the
preserved
machine.
the optic nerve.
The eyes were just there just so you could have that really cool bit where they're like, he's still technically alive and can see things.
Yeah. Because that's the thing, is like, I've read about that scene too. I actually like RoboCop 2, like Tom does.
Me too.
And
Me too.
yeah. I like the fact that, like, when you go back, that the scene of the surgery with Murphy and the procedure, of him going through it, is completely different. Where, like, with Kane, it's a completely undignified procedure, because, like, the doctor comes over and is talking to was her name wasn't Lazarus. What was it? But you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
It
Which
might have been, actually. Which one was Lazarus?
Maybe it was Marie Lazarus, but the doctor that did the RoboCop 2 program, the female doctor, and like he's like just casually holding like the section part of Kane's face and skull, just like it's, so he's sitting there watching, and you got to imagine like the perspective and the amount of trauma that, even though this guy's very bad guy.
Juliet Fax, I think is who you're thinking of.
Fax,
right?
yeah, Dr. Fax. Lazarus, I think, was the doctor from the third one.
Yes, I think you're right now. Yeah,
because they really hammed up the Christian undertones in that movie.
Well, and the problem with 2 and 3, for those who don't know, is that what's his face, the comic book guy,
Frank Miller.
Frank Miller wrote RoboCop 2 and 3 at the same time, and they were meant to be shot at the same time. And technically, they kind of almost were. They were real close together. But what happened was with all the bullshit at Orion, Peter Weller walking away from the third film, all the other
studio interference.
Yeah, it fell apart. But you can see his original vision in a comic book form. He did do it. And I wish we had gotten that version of part 3, and I think people would have appreciated 2 and 3 more. Because it really does dive deeper into what the hell OCP is up to, what Delta City's really all about, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because they make the old man, like the old man is kind of well-intentioned, but he is a sum of his parts. And by RoboCop 3, they just have this weird character shift where the old man is just the Palpatine of it all. It's very odd.
All right. So what we have left is basically Bodiger kind of introducing this doomsday weapon that I showed before. Again, going into like kids gear porn kind of a thing. Is like, I want this gun. Not only the RoboCop gun, that gun that you shoot that it just
I like this.
these things. It's
Was
just
it the Cobra assault rifle?
I don't
Cobra assault rifle, I believe. And I'm trying to remember what it was based upon or originated from.
It's a 50 cal Barrett.
Yeah,
gun.
it's a big ass
Added
motherfucker.
a bits and pieces.
Yeah, it's the Cobra assault cannon, actually.
I was gonna say, isn't it one of those that you actually have to have on a tripod normally?
Yes.
But they're like,
Yeah, you do not shoot it from the hip. These things have a fucking like recoil like a motherfucker. It's a Barrett.
But
8.
it's really, this is all a comment.
Paul coming
This-
in.
Yeah, this is all a comment though on, of course, like our cops run around with guns. Well, they get machine guns. Well, then our cops get machine guns. Well, then they get bigger guns. It's like that kind of a,
Yeah.
It's the same thing here. Like, they need firepower to beat Robocop. So they got these huge cannons.
And of course, they came in and obviously they know where Robocop went because it has to be that power plant. And
He's low jacked.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. They forgot.
Yeah.
Low jack. I keep forgetting.
With the most annoying tracker because it's like one of those 80s ones that goes beep.
Yeah.
beep,
Yeah.
beep.
And you know what's crazy? When they introduce it, the map on top of it is a static map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the red button is a static red button. It just beeps. And it's like, oh my God. People are like, yes, this did not age well that much. But
It's an insert. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
so one of the most memorable things, and I'm talking strictly out of first viewing as a kid, that I absolutely detested in this movie is the scene where Paul McCrane's
I didn't detest it. I loved it. My mom hated it.
I was not having it. And to me, like the toxic waste thing is such a kid trauma that I didn't like this scene at all.
I don't know. As a kid, I was
fucking
just so
hilarious.
jazzed seeing something like that. And how funny and weird it was. And my mom freaking out. That's my memory I have. Because, through the whole earlier parts of the film, my parents were surprisingly not as jumpy about things as they normally would be. Because, like, the violence is quite cartoony. But then this part happens when he goes splat.
Yep.
My mom freaks out. She's like, "Oh my God, that's disgusting. I can't believe they put that in." Just going off. And here my dad and I are just laughing our asses off.
Right. Zero, do you know what stuff that they use for the splat? Take a guess.
If I had to guess, did they just do like what they did in Final Destination where they filled like condoms up with ground beef?
No. It was a mix between watermelon and pig intestines.
Oh,
And it
okay.
smelled awful. They had to destroy that card that they used to run over the dummy. And there's a moment where you see there's a moment where Clarence Bodiger is in the car and somebody took a bucket of this gack, they call it gack, and they just threw it at the windshield.
Ooh.
It is
More gack.
Yeah, more gack. He wanted way more, by the way. It's
I
like,
love Paul. We haven't even really talked about how much of a freaking crazy man Paul Verhoeven is.
yeah, we can talk on the summarization. And just want to finish everything. The scene where
Here he is walking on water.
yeah, walking on water. Murphy, I'm a mess.
They'll fix you.
Yeah.
They
They
fix,
fix everything.
Everybody. There. I'm gonna stay with this. But there's a moment where you see his entire body and it just literally walks on water. And it's so fucking funny looking at it looking back at it. It's
Well, that was pure intentional.
Yeah.
You are right. Like, this is the rebirth, right? This is he
Yeah.
has risen.
on rebirth. Where Nancy Allen said she had a bad time doing this scene because it's basically most of it is just her in that water.
Yeah.
They
Rusty
offered
ass
her-
shit. Yeah.
They offered her a wetsuit because it was cold. Okay. She didn't want to wear the wetsuit because, quote, I didn't want to look fat on camera. And I was like, this is such a womanly thing to say. And as soon as she hit the water for the first time, she was like, I wish I'd have put on a wetsuit. I don't care. It's dirty. It's disgusting. And moreover, it's fucking cold. Yeah, she made it through though. Yeah, of course, we have the last scene where Murphy comes in. He shows the OCP board.
Dick,
Yeah.
you're fired.
He shows the OCP board what Dick told him. And of course, when he talks to him, he's straight on looking at the camera. Where in
Yeah.
the original scene, he walks around him and talks to him, where he could have recorded the audio, but not the visual. And of course, the old man knows exactly what to do. It's like, Dick, you're fired. And the directive fork kind of
Thank you.
disappears. It's like, thank you. And he shoots him, destroys him. And of course, he has to throw him out the window. Oh, he falls out of a window.
One of the most famous ones ever.
Yeah, this is the only special effects part of the movie that I'm like,
Again, suspending your disbelief. And
yeah.
Well, and I think it's because I can't remember who did the puppet. Was it Phil Tippett who did this puppet too?
Tippett. Yeah, Phil Tippett.
I think they were thinking a little too much about physics, or however you want to put it, because the reason the arms and stuff are so long is because he's trying to make it look
to have him
technically
flail.
And it's just bad. It's bad.
It's bad. But again, you have to suspend your disbelief. And of course, you have basically the last moment of the movie where it's just this.
Nice shooting, son. What's your name? Murphy.
And
not how the movie originally ended.
The whole point is, at this particular moment, what the producers, Ed Neumeyer, who wrote this, Michael Miner that wrote this, at the premiere, there were cheers. Everybody got up, cheers, clapping. It was like, yeah, fucking Murphy. Yeah. And as soon as they heard that and saw that, it was like, we have a hit on our hands. We've got it. We've got this. And through all the tumultuous production, everybody not having a good time, not, let's just say, discussions about the over budgeting, the Paul Verhoeven going crazy, Peter Weller making everybody else crazy. And then you had this enormous crowd cheering for this moment of Murphy, and everybody just gets it. They knew they had something good on their hands. But again, it's not the super end because you had to have him, have that smile. Right?
Well, and that's also that same premiere, I think, is where they decided that was where they were going to cut the movie off. Because as I was saying, that's not where the movie originally ended.
Yeah,
there was a whole nother sequence after this where, because there was two reasons for it. First, they wanted us to make sure that the audience knew that Nancy Allen's character, A, didn't die, and B, they didn't turn her into a Robocop too.
Okay.
So they have her they have this, it was a final, the final, the lost newsreel. The movie would have ended and begin with a wraparound of the news guys. So after this shot here, you would have went into another news brief.
Oh, okay.
And it would have been them interviewing Nancy Allen in the hospital, and then the movie ends when the TV goes like it normally does. That was it. That was the end of the original film. But they had, like you said, the audience had such a reaction to that they didn't give a shit after that.
Yeah.
They're like, they don't care. We're just going to cut it there. I wish they had cut it into the credits. Like now, if they'd, what they'd have done now.
Today they would have, but
yeah, I just wish the movie, credits would have
roll
started rolling, and then at the side, all of a sudden, that little square shows up, and we see the TV screen. It would have been neat just to have it, because even Nancy's like, "Are they going to turn me into a RoboCop in the sequel?"
And that's about it. Tom, Paul Verhoeven, talk to me. How crazy is the man?
Oh, well, I mean, you brought up already how he basically just didn't want to quite work with the idea of he only had this much to do with, or what to do with. So he was constantly screaming, you're fucking me on the movie. And he would get into knockdown, drag out fights with everybody. But then he would always come back around to, okay, this is what we're going to do. And he'd just miraculously have the answer. So people would think that while he was having these spaz outs, it was him actually, his brain thinking up a way to fix it. So he would go through these just knockdown, drag out fights with the first AD as well. And he hired this guy because he was Asian. and he reminded him of his friend growing up, but they did not get along. And like that was the thing, is the whole production was just a nightmare from top to bottom. I mean, they were constantly running out of money. Nothing ever worked, right? So it reminded me a lot of Jaws, like where nothing ever seemed to want to work the way it was meant to work, but somehow they got this masterpiece on the end of it. How, nobody knows, but they managed to cobble together this thing, and it's this brilliant piece of cinema that I don't think people give him enough credit for. And to me, it's still his best film. I don't give a crap what anybody says. It is a perfect movie. There's very few films that are perfect films. And Paul Verhoeven has managed to make one of them, and he deserves that credit, as nuts and crazy as he is. And I think that's part of the reason why he doesn't really work in Hollywood all that much anymore. Is just all the, he's probably difficult to deal with. And
he's all the things that studios don't want to deal with today.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's why
he always wanted more blood. He wanted bigger explosions. He wanted, all that stuff. Yeah.
I was trying to find, I don't know if you guys, it's really tiny on your end. But I wrote down Paul Verhoeven crazy. There's a famous shot of him going like, rah, all like souped up. It's from this production where he's just he has that frustrated face to him. And it's sort of, I've seen it many times before. I just can't find it right now.
Well, and he's a ball of energy, and I think that's the only. He's like one of the only people who could have made this movie.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things in the interview with Nancy Allen that came up is, like I told you, he was constantly trying to get shots done, as in, I want to get this shot done. Why are you not moving? You're fucking me. Like,
you're fucking my movie.
It's like people were doing things, setting up things, and all he wanted to do was keep doing the shots. He didn't mind doing extra takes on stuff, but between takes, if it wasn't like dialogue, if it was a full-on, we have to set up this car again, we have to give these guys mics again, we have to set up this. There's a moment where they had to shoot like the Ed 209 moving. So what they had is people holding a cardboard cutout of an Ed 209 moving towards the camera. And they said, well, we're going to not shoot that, but have the people reacting to it. So they had a big cutout just moving towards them, just to get the reaction, a good reaction from the actors. And
something that's lost on green screen acting today.
Yeah. And because what they use is like tennis balls and they can cut away a lot of stuff today and replace it with background, so they can do certain things that they couldn't do before. But one of the things that, there it is. I found it. I actually found it. Never mind. One of the things that Paul wanted to do is just keep going. Not because of the money. He didn't even care about how much it cost. He just wanted to keep going to make sure that when the editors kind of get into actually doing the editing thing, that they have a variety of things and he can decide which avenue he wanted to go with, which is interesting. But there's a certain mood he wanted to capture. There's a certain moment he wanted to have. There's a certain reaction from his actors that he wanted to get. And if he got it, moved on. And if he didn't get it, tried it in a different way. Again, each director has his own kinks and winks, but one of the things he mentions is, and I said it when we talked about Basic Instinct, is why Sharon Stone was cast is a specific moment that he managed to capture of her in Total Recall that was like, oh, this actress can do this. That fits with this character. And he brought it to there. We'll talk about it when we do Total Recall. Zero, anything else to add while I have this shot on?
Ooh, I didn't see the shot.
You'll see it in a bit.
Okay. I think one thing too that a lot of people don't know is that he and Neumeier are reuniting for a new movie that they're working on now, and it's it's pretty exciting. I think it's something Sinners.
Is it indie or
no? It's Young Sinner, and
no? I mean an indie film.
I believe so. I mean, it kind of has to be because his last movie, Benedetta, was an indie movie that came out in 2021, and obviously, that was not a great time to release a movie.
Nope.
But yeah, I believe it is an indie movie. So I mean, Verhoeven and his work is very interesting. It's always been very near and dear to me, and I kind of appreciate the insanity of the work because, without those sort of personal quirks, you get a sterile product. I mean, when you think about character and personality, what is our character and our personality other than the things that make us inherently different, the things that make us stand out, and that shine through in his filmmaking. And I think like when you get these, films by committee, you're never going to get anything like Robocop ever again if it's a film made by a committee. Mm-hmm. And I think in his directing career, he proved that he really wasn't lightning in a bottle. I think you could kind of see when he got the Hollow Man that was like when the studio interference really made his work problematic. I think Hollow Man was also like one of his most successful movies too, which is nuts.
Okay.
I think Basic Instinct is the most successful of his films, and then Hollow Man's the second.
Yeah, I think financially, I think you're.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how much. I think RoboCop did what, 87 million.
It did. It made a lot of money off of its budget, but Basic Instinct had a very modest.
That had like
$100.
I think RoboCop made more money out of home video and.
Well, no, I know, but like at the box office, I think. I think Basic Instinct did break the 100 million.
As a franchise, RoboCop's probably made the most.
Probably, but especially on video. That's the thing. Like RoboCop has gone nuts on video. I mean, I've got 10 copies behind me.
Basic Instinct made $352.
I was going to say worldwide.
Yeah. Worldwide.
Also,
yeah, I was going to say the US did probably half that, but yeah.
Sharon Stone just recreated the scene.
I saw that.
This
I
past week.
didn't see that.
Now, did Verhoeven direct the sequel or not? I can't remember.
No, he didn't. Do
No.
I didn't think so. I was going to say he's kind of not done anything Hollywood since.
No, he didn't.
Was Starship Troopers his last Hollywood movie?
No, that was Hollow Man.
Hollow Man, you're right. Sorry, yeah, You just mentioned it.
Yeah.
All right, I just wanted to have this shot on screen. This is from the production. It's just
fucking madman.
Captures the insanity. That's all. It just came up again and again and again on the doc that I've seen. But I know this picture. I've seen this picture already when it comes to Verhoeven. It's really interesting. All right. Cool. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Extrazero. Please plug your wares. Zero, where can anybody find you?
So I think I shared my link tree. I'm on a few shows now. So I took off the Legion of Memers today to be here. So I'm the producer for the Legion of Memers. Of course, as you know, No Green Rocks is the leader, creator, and founder, and he runs it. So he's got the show today. But typically you can find me there every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Booking the guests and pushing all the buttons, doing all the behind the scenes work, as well as being a co-host. I also have my own show, the Figure Action Podcast. We go live every Thursday night at 9 Eastern. And if you're into anything to do with toys, giant robots, we talk about it all. We talk about Transformers. We talk about superhero toys, video game toys, industry news, insider stuff, and whatnot. And then also, if you happen to know Lethal Lightning, I am now part of Gronk Squad. I do a show with them once a week. I tend to go on the Australian Monday Gronking, which is Sunday my time, 6 p.m. Eastern over there, as well as editing videos for them. So if you see any of the meme edits, I just had one come out with Monster Hunter that was fantastic. I really had a lot of fun doing that. So I'm doing meme videos for them. So and then also give me a follow over on Twitter, X, whatever you choose to call it. I would like to get to 1,000 followers by the end of the summer. I'm getting pretty close. I think last I checked, I was like 880. So I think probably by the end of August, I might be able to hit that. So if you like memes or pop culture stuff, give me a follow over there. I'd really appreciate it.
All right. And Tom, where can anybody see you, watch you, do all your stuff?
Probably at the local Taco Bell.
Good.
No, anyway, you can find me at Midnight's Edge After Dark, all those fine places.
All I can say is diarrhea, cha-cha-cha. Anyway, guys, next week, go watch Total Recall. And if they fix the fucking power in Houston, we will have Stone Loki on to talk to us about that film, because it's fucking great. Seen it this week again. Oh boy, it's good. It's really
I totally spaced out Total Recall. That's like a $200-300 million movie too. Yeah.
Yep, completely. It did less than Basic Instinct.
Oh, okay.
280. I need to check.
It was Arnold on his way up.
Watch Total Recall. Come back to us same time. Yeah, 3 p.m. Eastern.
Get your ass to Mars.
Best line of that movie. You can't what you wanted. Now give these people back their air.
Yeah,
Get them back the air.
Yeah. And all I have to say is Robocop will say his last piece, I guess.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.
So everybody remember, hope is a good thing, maybe even the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. We'll see you next week.
You're still here? It's over.